I'm Lorraine Ballard-Morrill. I consider myself a questioning person, always looking for more wisdom and more insight into my life. And so that has brought me to this interview today with Alaine Portner, who is the author of Medium Memoirs, Messages of Love, Hope, and Reunion. I am open to so many things, and I am also a skeptic at the same time. And so I get to experience both sides of my personality here in this interview because Alaine Portner is a medium. Thank you so much for coming in today and speaking with us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Well, before we get into the details of the book, I'd like to talk a bit about what is the definition of a medium and how did you find out that you had this gift?
The definition of a medium might be different to different people, quite actually. So for me, a medium is someone who's almost like in the middle of the channeling process of what could be guidance from outside of yourself, yet inside of yourself, and being the mediator between those two things. So turning up the volume with what is inside of you, to me, is what the medium is, my style.
You had a very sharp awakening because that came on the cusp of one of the most traumatic experiences that we have experienced in this country.
It started a little bit before then, when I was younger, and I heard the voice, coming out of the corporate world and into a yoga center where people were learning to calm themselves down, de-stress themselves, get a better balance of health and wealth. I began to funnel that into different aspects of metaphysics, whether that was astrology or teaching philosophies while people were exercising and doing yoga. And then what happened is I began to teach meditation and looking at that as another way of balancing oneself. And it was through that time that I recognized I can see those on the other side. At the same time, I always was teaching dream workshops, and I realized that many of us are kind of gaining that guidance even when we're sleeping because our defenses are down, we're relaxed. And so in combination of that in my own personal life, I captured a dream that was, traumatic to the country, which you're speaking about, which is 9/11. But I really didn't know that's what it was. And I've since learned that other astrologers and psychics have picked up on that too prior to that happening. So that was very threatening to me because I wanted to know how much you could know. And then I found out how much you could know. And then I realized that I don't want to know that.
You talk about the fact that heaven and earth exist simultaneously and within reach of one another. And I think that for many individuals out there who have lost loved ones and have a yearning, we all want to know, is our loved one happy? Are they at peace? And I wonder if you could kind of explain a little bit about that kind of place that you're able to travel and come in contact with people from this other side.
The beauty is that it's inside of all of us. It's not just me and mine. And so what's happening is in the evolution of consciousness, as we expand our consciousness, we're actually multitasking on a daily level. So what happens is that we begin to ask that question, show me a sign, send me a sign when you're missing someone. And you then have that experience. Some people are having that happen through a butterfly, through a rainbow, or some type of gift that's given them that they prayed to their loved one for. So at some level, it's become a mass consciousness that we're looking to connect like that. And so what I'm able to do is hear that a lot louder than you might, or I'm confirming it for you. So it really is happening to all of us. I'm probably just able to turn up the volume a little bit louder for you or confirm it for you. So if you're skeptical, that's even better because then you're saying, I don't know, and then I tell you, and then you get the shocker, and then it makes all sense to you. And then the truth is in that moment, you've opened up your consciousness and certainly your heart from the missing into the possibilities that our loved ones are around and they do see us.
Whether you believe in this or not, I would think that the value of having this kind of experience is to assist you in coming to some kind of peace within yourself for the people that you've lost, because we all want to get a comforting word. We want to know that this person, again, is at peace or at rest, or maybe there's some unresolved conversation or situation. And I imagine that that's, in some ways, who you are and how you try to work around this mediumship that you have.
It's very true. My style is very different. And the difference in the style is that I've gone beyond the point of acknowledging who it is that's around you. I do that. And maybe that's enough information for you that your Aunt Carol really does see you and she saw that you bought a vacuum the other day. I mean, it's that specific. It really does. They could tell you what you had for lunch the day before, but that information is not as necessary. For some people it is as validation. But what happens in the mediumship style that I offer is that it goes the next step. So what is the guidance? Or what were the words that they heard that you thought that they didn't, perhaps in their final moments? And so they acknowledge your presence at the most significant and most purposeful point that could be helpful to you here and now to diminish your worries, because it is all just fear. And even if it's fear about death, this also is a large statement to say the consciousness continues. The body may not, but the consciousness does, the soulful realities of who we are. So that's a lot in a little bit, maybe too much to swallow, yet at the same time, it's time for us to awaken to the possibilities.
Yeah, I think that is the eternal question. Sure. Is death the end? And I'm sure there's a yearning in all of us to believe that there is something after death.
Yes, that's very true. And also what happens is it's an awakening to understand how are we carrying ourselves in the everyday. And what are our fears? Of course, the number one fear for many, or if not all of us, is death. Then you can backtrack it to say, really, is this a day where I'm worrying about something that is hugely insignificant? And so it allows us to understand the preoccupations that we have in our mind, which ultimately disturbs the balance in our bodies. So it is a health and wellness and relieving and therapeutic process for us to know that our hearts can stay open to our loved ones, to our processes, to the guidance, to our own intuition, because we all want to know, how are we really doing? Are we fine? Is there energy out there that I can't see with my eyes open? And I just validate that.
You talk about one of the most romantic connections that you've ever made between Lynn, who is a student at the yoga center, and her recently departed husband, Maurice. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was quite beautiful because she was somebody that was in a grieving process because I believe he was her high school lover. And she was frequenting the yoga center, so her sessions with me were frequent also. And involving myself in this, I never knew the purpose of somebody continually coming back to me. I didn't realize that there could be continued conversations. I actually thought it was kind of like one and done. And so what happened through me was that there was continual conversations with her through him. And he was just, sometimes I fortunately get to feel the spirit, and he was just this romantic, beautiful man. And he just carried his love over time with her, so much so that he saw her in the dressing room and he told her which dress to wear to the daughter's wedding. And I thought that was just so purposeful because it sounded like he was going to be there. And then she took the pictures because there was this butterfly that was there the entire time. And it just let me know that love is eternal. People say it all the time, and it's just a way of experiencing that. And I do too. And I feel just so blessed to witness, to be a part of those couplings of love.
Does it always make sense, the things that you hear?
Oh, that's a good question. What happens is I'm a skeptic. And if I stay a skeptic, then I'm still a student. So I have ways to learn this communication to help and support others who are all changing also along with me. So I do need to remain open. And sometimes I don't understand something. But I think in the book, it reflects back on a session that I had, which I didn't understand. And I didn't understand it because the father really wanted to meet with his daughter alone, not with her husband. So he wasn't coming through. And I thought, oh my God, what's happening? Uh-oh. And what happened is, as I made that request to her privately, and then she did come back, and then they did have conversations. So yes, sometimes it's their demands that I don't understand that make sense to the ultimate reading that's supposed to occur.
I have to, of course, make reference to Ghost and Whoopi Goldberg. And, that was a very entertaining movie about a medium who was an unexpected medium. She started to see beings all around her all the time and couldn't even really control her experience of those people coming into her space. Do you find that to be true for you, that people just keep popping in?
What I practice is shutting down, keeping it off for the most time. And it's almost like the yin and the yang. If I'm quiet most of the time, not in my life, but in the mediumship mind, if you will, then I really get to understand when it is turned on, what's happening. So it's not dulled by the sensory awareness on a regular basis. So it is shut down. However, obviously, like through dream state and other times in my life for other people, I understand I'm getting information that I need to contact that person. But I pretty much remain private with all of that. So I'm not on unless I'm supposed to be. And I respectfully request from a client, if it's okay to enter in. So I don't spontaneously go to the bakery and tell somebody that their grandmother's behind them. I do not do that.
Yeah, that could be disconcerting, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Do you find that, I used to go out with a vet, and I remember going out with this vet. We would walk down the street. He was very well known. Everybody would come up to him and ask a question. They would ask, well, my dog has a little itch in his ear. Can you tell me what the symptoms mean? Do you find that to be true for you, that people are always, just in everyday life, they know what you do, and they're always going, by the way, Alaine, can you tell me? And then you're like that person that people are always going to ask.
Yeah, I think I had some training through the yoga, being a yoga entrepreneur, with my studio for 20 years. I think I used to experience that, and I didn't know it until I saw people running in the supermarket because they thought I was going to look what's in their shopping cart, it's really okay. It's allowed to be private. You eat what you eat, you do what you do, And so when this is happening, I feel like a lot of people want to know a lot of information and they're respectful of our time together. But it is true where being around people, they want to know, but I also think there's a lot of people that are afraid that I see. And that's why I'm very respectful of it. I'm not going to enter into that space unless we have an agreement that it's okay. And I start off my sessions with a meditation for you to find your own empowerment, because it's not about me. It's about you and understanding your intuition. Because if it's there, that just tells me it's there.
Right.
Just like 9/11, if you really wanted to get that information, perhaps you really could for forensic, psychic defenses. But I don't have that. So I'm very respectful. So maybe that respect, sending it out that way, comes back to me that way. I'd like to believe that.
Your book is about your experiences making connections with people and helping people really come to terms with all the unresolved things, all the connections that they wish that they had made, or the words that they wish they had said, or the words they wish they had heard. And I think that certainly is the gift that you provide for those individuals. I wonder if you ever hear anything that you feel that the person on this side doesn't need to hear.
Yeah, that's interesting sometimes. And what happens is that sometimes somebody comes through to somebody's family that they actually don't want to talk to. And I never knew that could happen. And I believe that story is in the book also, because I just thought everybody would want to talk to anybody. And when there is resentment for somebody that has passed, they're not as willing. But I had a family come in and that happened, and they took a vote, and the vote won that they would talk to him. So then he came through, and what happens is there's a tremendous amount of healing that goes on, because you don't recognize how many feelings that we're harboring, whether they're their own, our guilt, our missing, all of these types of feelings. And it gives us the opportunity to continue the dialogue. And the truth is that the dialogue can continue with ourselves and them. You don't always need a medium to do that. And that's not really something that's not broadcasted. A lot of people don't know that can happen. And then they say, how does that happen? And I say, you open yourself up to that communication, and then you look for a sign for confirmation. And many people have done that, and it's been very healing for many.
And I hear that so often, people speaking to a departed parent or a brother or sister and feeling as though they really are speaking to them. So it feels as though whether it's tapping into that unknown or whether it's tapping into the imprint that they have placed inside of your heart, either way, it seems as though we have the ability to have access to wisdom and words that can help us to heal and to move forward in life based on how we accept those words coming from either beyond or within our own hearts. Well, I want to say that it's been very fascinating speaking with you. And, I am a skeptic, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who are saying, whatever, this is a hooey thing. But on the other hand, I think sometimes just the conversation that happens, whether you believe it or not, sometimes the conversation that comes out of doing something like this, connecting with the unknown, or whether it's a psychic or a card reading, there's value in that, I believe. And I know that I have received it in the past. And I think that it sounds like you have been able to connect with people and give them something that they can take away to help them heal and to help them move forward. Medium Memoirs, Messages of Love, Hope, and Reunion. Alaine Portner, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
I'm Lorraine Ballard Morrill.